Hello, I'm Ruth Allen, Chief Executive of BASW, and welcome to my podcast. This week, I'm delighted to be talking with Gerry Nosowska, our Chair. Hello, Gerry.
Hi, Ruth.
Gerry is our current Chair, and I'm absolutely delighted that she has been re-elected to be Chair for the next 2 years coming up. So, Gerry, over to you. What does it mean to you to be Chair again, and what are you going to be doing?
Well, on a personal level, it's really exciting, and I'm thrilled to have the chance to continue as Chair for the next 2 years, and particularly through our Heritage Year, when we're celebrating our 50th birthday. I am really glad as well to have the chance to continue some of the things that BASW is working on at the moment, particularly around equality, diversity and inclusion, and also around support for social workers. So some of the recent developments, developing the Working Conditions Toolkit off the back of the Working Conditions campaign, and the launch of the Professional Support Service and Employment Service. And I think that element of support for social workers is only going to be more important over the next few years. And it's also good, although a little daunting, I think, to have the chance to work through some of the impacts of the pandemic that we're likely to see. I think there'll be a lot of struggles and a real need for social work, and for social work to have a strong voice and be quite thoughtful about what it can offer to people and how we make a real difference. And I get to work with members and the staff for another 2 years, so that's wonderful.
Yeah, no, well, we're really pleased to have you in the staff side, I'm sure. And I know you've had lots of congratulations from many members for continuing in the role. One of the other big things for us, of course, is a new vision. Our next 5-year vision, our current vision runs out at the AGM, which is happening in September. Do you want to say a bit about that? Because that's going to be, I think, another important thing for our membership to know where we're going.
Yes, the 2020 vision, which ran from 2015 to now, I think made a real difference to BASW and to social work for really setting out what the professional association is and what it can do. And the 2025 vision for the next 5 years will do the same thing. It will be really articulate about what BASW is, why we need a professional association to support social workers and to strengthen social work and to be that voice of social justice, and also how we go about that. So the key areas that we work in, I think it is really timely, and it will help start us on the path for the next 5 years, and it will be an ongoing conversation. And I also think alongside that, we've had conversations within BASW about being really clear about the vision for social work that we're trying to promote as a professional association, around working with people with lived experience, promoting people's rights, human rights, trying to tackle some of the challenges in the context, and particularly things like poverty and inequality. So I think the vision is it's a bit of a rallying call, but it's also a place to gather around and have that conversation and draw on the vision for the actions that we'll take as an organisation, but also as a wider social work community.
Yeah, no, I think it's really exciting, and my thanks to all the members who've given their views. We've had nearly 1,000 members contribute views about the vision at different stages of consultation, over 1,000, plus also non-members, because it's interesting to know what non-members think that they might want from BASW, and to bring people into the association as well. And I think it feels like we are kind of focusing around these 3 areas of our voice and the impact of social work on policy and on society, our role as supporting social workers in all the different ways that we do it, and then our role in supporting the development of social work and helping social workers access the ongoing development they need. And it feels like those 3 things are kind of coming together in the vision, we're defining a mission as well as a vision this time. So it's really exciting to be working on that.
Yeah, and those are the 3 areas that members push us to do, but also that non-members ask about and want from social work. So I also hope that the vision will be a catalyst for more people to join with the professional association, because the more members we have and the more unity there is, the more impact we can have.
Yeah, brilliant. So you've been elected, and we've also had some other people newly elected to council, to our board of directors council. Do you want to just say a bit about that as well?
Yes, I'm really pleased to say that Lewis Roberts has been elected as the Vice Chair, so he'll be joining me and John Dudley, our Treasurer, as an honorary officer. And we also have Mandeep Gill and Julia Ross joining us as elected directors. And we will also be announcing some co-opted directors as well to support us with our representation on council. And at the annual general meeting in September, that will be a chance to formally welcome those new members of the board, and also to say thank you to those who will be leaving, who have made such an amazing contribution as well.
Yeah, and we have an election, don't we, for the Policy, Ethics and Human Rights council member as well, chair, and that will be going live at the beginning of August, and we have a competitive election process for that, which is also exciting to have interest in people wanting to do that very important role with policy and human rights. Yes, we've got our AGM coming up in September, on the 15th of September, and do you want to just say a bit about how that's going to run, because obviously we're doing it online, so we're not doing a face-to-face AGM, and that's going to be new. I think that was absolutely the first in the history of BASW. Do you want to say a little bit how that you expect that to run?
Yeah, so the annual general meeting is the opportunity for all our members to get together and to hear back from council and from the executive about what we've been doing. So there's an accountability element to it, and also there's the opportunity for members to influence what happens next, and that's where people can put forward motions and we can debate them and agree which ones we'll take into BASW's work over the next year. And it will be online, which presents some challenges, but actually will present a lot of opportunity for more involvement. More people can take part. We can manage things over a longer period of time and allow for more discussion. We can share things maybe more widely and more coherently, and we can also make sure that lots of us kind of get together at the time. So there will be a 2-hour annual general meeting, but there'll be information and things coming out beforehand, and the traditional things of being able to make proxy votes and being able to comment on motions that have been put forward, that will happen over the summer, so that will all happen as usual.
Yes, it's going to be a new experience, but we, both you and I, have had a joint experience of being part of the global delegates meeting for the International Federation of Social Workers two weekends ago, and actually that was all done online for the first time, with 286 people took part, I think, something like that, and 140, or no, something like 90 countries participated, which is quite amazing. And that was done through written contributions for debate, moderated. And I think we've both found that really effective, more effective than we thought it might be. And of course, you miss being with people and having discussion and debate live. But actually, we did get through a lot of business. So I just wanted to, your thoughts on that. It was a bit of a precursor for us for thinking about how we might do an online AGM and voting process.
It was really helpful, and it's given us lots of kind of useful learning. I think the accessibility is the central principle of the annual general meeting, because it is supposed to be an opportunity for all members to influence, and also for us to be really accountable, and the clearer the messaging and the reporting back, the better. I think there's a lot for us to think around accessibility, doing things online. There's lots of advantages. The major thing that I found from people being able to discuss and comment was that there was a lot more chance for reflection and thought about what you might want to say, and to respond to people, and you could respond in a much wider group than might happen at a face-to-face meeting, where you would kind of have to arrange to speak and get up to speak and only have a certain amount of time and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I also think that the diversity of voices that came through was really important, and we have to bear in mind that even amongst our UK members, English isn't the first language for everyone. So it gives us an opportunity to be much more thoughtful about things like translation and things like having subtitles for films that we've pre-recorded, and all kinds of things that will help with the communication.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of looking forward to the challenge of kind of putting it all together behind the scenes, and then and then taking account of some of those things, and just trying to do it in a new way, and as you say, making it as accessible as possible and inclusive as possible. In the delegates meeting for IFSW, and then we're going to come on in a moment to talk about the IFSW conference, we could immediately use Google Translate so people could write in their own language. Now, that's not such an issue for a UK organisation, but actually if somebody did want to write certainly in Welsh, for instance, or wanted to use another first language in written commentary, if you have, you can translate that, then the onus is on the reader to translate rather than on the person to be able to use English as a first language. Things like that are just fascinating and are an example of inclusivity. It's good to experience. So yes, so there will be the information about the AGM motions will be coming out in early August, and that will come out either by email for the majority of people who we communicate through email, and also by post for a minority of our members where we communicate primarily through the post. People will be able to do proxy votes, as you said, during August, and also that will coincide with the time when we'll be doing the election for the PEHR chair as well. So August, I know it's traditionally holiday time, but we're not in traditional times, so we have to take the times that are available for us. So it will be August when those things are coming out, so people should look out for them. Yeah, so after the Global Delegates meeting, we went to the International Federation of Social Workers Conference, which I've been trailing through these vlogs, and we've also been putting out lots of information about. And well, it ran over 5 days. You could join it 24 hours a day. There were actually some live, that was for time zone reasons. There were some live presentations and keynotes. Personally found it a very incredibly exciting experience, actually, and to hear from people from all over the world, and to hear that from wherever you happen to be, in your living room or in a park, and it worked very, very smoothly. Your experiences, Gerry, you were posting on social media a lot about the many things you were hearing throughout, so it was evident you were well engaged, well immersed.
It's an amazing opportunity, isn't it, to learn from people in parts of the world that I haven't been to, I haven't really met many social workers from, I haven't had the opportunity to spend much time with people from the associations of. So yeah, I was particularly listening into presentations and workshops about issues that I don't know enough about and would like to know more about. And it was really striking that the kind of topics that were coming up at the global conference really echoed things that BASW members are concerned about around support for social workers, around promoting human rights and anti-oppressive practice, and particularly around poverty and inequality. So that was great, because it gives you the opportunity to think a bit differently and have more reflection. And the other thing that's really interesting about the global conference is that it's organised through the Federation of Social Work Associations, so BASW being the UK one, but the associations across the world, which means that many of the presentations were talking explicitly about what they thought professional associations should do, which is really valuable for BASW. Really helped me think about some of the ways that we might develop our support and our activism.
Yeah, I went to as many sessions as I could, and being able to watch them in between doing other things was actually really, really helpful. The conversation online, talking to people that you would never speak to in the live sessions, was actually felt more exciting and more communicative than you would often find in big conferences, where sometimes you sometimes only speak to the people that you know already, and you don't talk to people who are kind of from very different context than yourself. I just wanted to mention a few things I found particularly interesting. The Germaine Valier, who's worked with ourselves and with SWU, with John McGowan, on the working conditions work in the UK, is now doing a piece on global working conditions for social workers. And the first kind of cut of that information is now available based on the sort of pilot survey that's been done. So his session with Paul McFadden from Ulster University, who's also involved, and David Jones and Rory Truell from IFSW. Really fascinating to see an emerging piece that's going to roll on over a couple of years to see comparisons between different countries. And the UK's findings around working conditions is being used as a benchmark. So it's interesting to see, even in the pilot, where we are in relation to the rest of the world. And of course, it's massively different context that social work is happening in. But there are also some interesting similarities emerging against the measures that have been used, even across those diverse settings from global north, global south, rural, urban. So all of that I think will emerge, and so that was very exciting to see the connection with our own work. I also just want to mention a couple of other things. There's a lot of themes throughout the conference about Indigenous peoples and their experiences, and reclaiming their place and space and their knowledge, which of course is core to the international definition of social work. We adopted in the general meeting the creation of a new Indigenous Commission, and I particularly, there was a session I went to about the experience of First Nation peoples in Canada, for instance, and their story and the role of social work and social services and other public services in oppressive actions, massively oppressive actions over decades. Which are only now really being unpicked, and the awareness of that coming into social work education. And there were lots of read across to the UK, where we think about how we decolonise and make much more diverse and inclusive social work education here. That was, and just one other quick word. Who Cares Scotland, care leavers from Scotland, who are now just the most articulate, perceptive, thoughtful and dynamic commentators and on how care should be, and also on how people with lived experience of care need to be viewed. Really, really fabulous. Did you see anything stuck with you, Gerry, from the conference?
Yes, I mean, I saw quite a few of the UK contributions, so it was really good to see all the different parts of the UK putting forward ideas and thoughts. The ones that I homed in on, the ones that probably struck me most would be the presentations that were really out of my ordinary experience. So Kamaran Ramashan from India was talking about the right to communicate in your own language, and the importance of keeping languages alive, coming from a perspective of a place where there's many different languages, and talking about the way that services can kill languages if they don't use them and enable them to be used.
Yeah.
Charles Liang from China was talking about a concept of shan, which is kind of goodness, and said that the job of social work is to suppress hatred and build love, which was a really amazing concept. There was a really striking workshop from Patrina Dehaney and Cheryl Thompson from the USA around anti-Black racism. And that echoed actually quite a lot of other presentations that were really tackling some of the major issues around racism at the moment. And then there was a really inspiring short talk from Joanne Morecambe from Canada about therapeutic laughter, and talking about laughter clubs with older people, and suggesting that social workers' role is also to bring joy.
Fantastic. I noticed there was a session on men in sheds. I was just thinking about, that which is an initiative for men in the UK, but it's also kind of global. I didn't see it actually, but I might pick it up, because actually the sessions are still available online. And if people want to find out more about the conference, go to the ifsw.org website. You can find out more about the conference, and we believe that the sessions will be available to people who weren't registered as well as who were some time, but keep an eye on the website and you can find out more. The role of concepts from around the world really shaping and giving us new language to understand who and what we are as social work was also quite a key theme, I think, from the conference. And I was also struck by many times was mentioned the kind of growing importance, I think, in IFSW of this concept of Ubuntu, which is particularly from it's a Zulu word from Southern Africa, meaning I am because we are. And it's likely to make an appearance in one of the new global agenda themes, because we're looking forward to the next 10 years of a new global agenda of 5 themes, 2 years each. And that notion of I am because we are, representing how our personal identity is part of our collective identity and the other way around, which seems so pertinent to social work, was also, I think, will be seen in that. I mean, just to finish, one of the outputs from the conference was some ideas about what that new global agenda will be. If we hadn't had a pandemic, if processes of kind of consultation had run a bit more to plan, we would have kind of come out of it with a firmer sort of set of proposals for the new global agenda, I think, out of the conference that was due to be in Calgary. You got any comments, Gerry, just on that, finally, on that sort of process of those ideas that came up? Because some really strong ideas have come out through the global agenda consultations that happened over the 5 days. We've got some ideas now.
Yeah, the global agenda is really important to us here, isn't it? Because it connects us in with social work in other countries, and it also is the theme. It provides the themes for the World Social Work Days that we celebrate with our global colleagues. And the last 10 years has come to a close, and actually David Jones from BASW has been really instrumental in that first decade. So we've been really fortunate to be very much a part of it, and we want to keep that on and make sure that BASW members and wider social workers in the UK feel that they're part of that global agenda. And I think the concepts that are coming through from the global meeting are really echo what we hear from social workers in this country, around a desire to work much more in partnership, a desire to draw on concepts, not just the kind of traditional forms of social work that we have in the West, which are very individualistic at times, and don't reflect even the richness of social work in the UK, let alone the richness of social work across the world. And I think there is, from the COVID-19 experience, a real opportunity to re-engage with community-based work, and that's something that social work's been striving to do for a long time, but maybe the global agenda is a chance to give it a bit of impetus as well. So I think there's a lot of impact that the global agenda can have, and I would really hope that social workers here will feel part of it, not just on World Social Work Day, but all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Gerry, thank you for talking to me today, for us talking together. It's been great to reflect on these very exciting times. New election, new council, new way of doing an AGM coming up, and then also this fantastic experience with international social work over the last couple of weeks. So there'll be more about the International Federation of Social Workers Conference coming out in the bulletin next week as well, as we reflect on it a bit more. But you can, of course, go to the ifsw.org website to find out more. So for now, thank you. Thanks, Gerry. Goodbye to everybody. Bye-bye. Bye.